Hi. Today we're going to talk about 5 ways to sharpen your ability to choose your own path. And I'm just saying, I literally just got the key to the hotel room 3 minutes ago. And I'm on my phone because my laptop just died last night before I flew out for a 6 a.m. flight. So I'm a little discombobulated. I'm going to do my best to give you this live today. And we want to believe that we're making our own decisions in life. And all too often, our decisions are actually being informed by what we were taught by our families, culture, history, religion, schooling. And so it's surprisingly difficult to choose our own path. And so today I want to talk about that and how to get better at discerning if decisions you're making are actually yours, if they're true to you, or if you are just living a life that somebody prescribed for you, basically set you up for. Um, yeah. So if you're watching live, drop a live in the comments. I hope I can see the comments here on my phone. If not, I will catch you after the broadcast. And if you're watching the replay, let me know that too. I'd love to know that you're here. And if we haven't met, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly. I'm a relationship alchemist. I help people get what they want out of their relationships and show up more skillfully and more lovingly so that their relationships feel more connected and joyful. Welcome to, I can't see who showed up, but welcome. And so today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to sharpen your ability to choose your own path. And the first key is when you're facing a major decision to slow down and take your time with taking the decision. I'm going to raise my camera a bit. Let's see if this will work. Oh, the other way. Oh, I guess that's as far as it goes. Okay, I'm going to scrunch down. Like I said at the top of the show, my laptop died like an ugly flaming death last night. And I left this morning I got up at 3 to get to the airport for a 6 a.m. flight. And I've just now landed on the East Coast and got my hotel keys like 5 minutes ago. So the first key to sharpening your ability to choose your own path is to slow down when you're making a decision and notice what the pull is. What are the voices perhaps in your head, or what do you feel drawn to overwhelmingly? This will begin to give you clues about who's running the show in there. And if it is your actual intuition, your actual adult self, or if there's some other part of you that has taken charge. Very often, when we're faced with making major decisions that have our path go this way or that, often other parts of ourselves will come in and start to take over because there's fear, there's resistance, there's what if I do it wrong? What if I make people unhappy with my choice? All the voices that can come in and affect our ability to make a clear decision. So the first key is to slow down and give yourself some space and notice who's speaking in your head. See if you can begin to develop a relationship with the different narrations. If you are one of the 70% of people, or 70 or 80% of people who do have an inner narrator, get to know the flavor. Oh, when this one's talking, that's my inner teenager. When this one's talking, that's my judgmental voice. When this one's talking, that's my inner critic. This one's my fear, etc. So begin to get some facility with the different voices that speak in your head, so that when you're faced with making a major decision or choosing your own path, you can tell who's out front trying to make the decision for you. I'm not able to see the comments on my phone, so I would love any questions, comments, reflections, drop them in there, and I will get to you once I'm off. I'll get back to you. So that's step one. Step two is actually, step one is to slow down. Step two is to listen for the flavor of your thinking. Who's running the show? Is it your fear? Is it your people pleaser, because you still have a part of you that's trying to please your parents? Things like that. Notice who's speaking about the decision. Then the third piece is decide who you want making decisions for you in your life. Do you want to cultivate a relationship with your adult, what I call your adult? It could also be called your aware ego. It could also be called your integrated ego. Like, you want to develop a relationship with the part of you that can survey situations, see what's going on, not be caught up in them, not be reacting to them out of childhood wounding or cultural conditioning or educational conditioning or religious conditioning. So as you begin to familiarize yourself with who's speaking in there in step two, then step three is decide, who do you want in charge? Now, my suggestion and my recommendation and what I teach my clients is to get your adult in charge, because choosing what you're going to do in life out of your rebellious teenager or your wounded child or any of these other aspects of the self that can be coming in and influencing our decision making, that's going to have certain ramifications. Like, if you're letting your teenager run the show, you're going to tend to rebel and you're going to tend to do things out of reactivity, right? And that's fine. If that's who you want making the decision, have at it. But if this is a big decision where you're choosing some kind of path in life, I suggest you find your adult, aware woman or man and put them in the driver's seat. I use the image of a car. So you want to have your adult in the driver's seat. Your child can be to the side, can be in the back seat. Your teenager can be there, like any number of your inner pantheon, as I like to call it. Any number of your inner pantheon can be in the car. They just shouldn't take the wheel most of the time when you're making big decisions. So that's the third piece, is decide who you want to have in charge and then put that part of you in charge of the decision. Now, what I'm talking about is not an instant thing. Like, I'm telling you this 5-step thing and all of a sudden tomorrow you know how to make awesome decisions out of your adult. Like, what I'm talking about is some of the deep work I do with clients to sort out who's what in here and who's running the show and who's sabotaging things and who's, all the deep work that I do with people to help them get free and be who they really are. But this is part of it. And being able to choose your own path. You can't even choose your own path till you know who the fuck you are, right? And you can't even know who the fuck you are till you know what conditioning is typically running your life and which parts of you are typically making your decisions for you. For example, when I got married, I married a wonderful man. We knew each other in high school. It was a very romantic story. We had this incredible love story. And in retrospect, I can now see that that part of my choice to marry him was informed by the knowledge that he would be acceptable to my parents, in particular my mother. My father had already passed away. So part of my decision was choosing someone who my family would approve of. Now I don't give a fuck about that. I'm choosing the person who's right for me. Now, it happens that my mother loved my partner before she died, but that wasn't the driving factor in my choice, because I got the part of me that was living to please my mother and try to get her approval out of the way. I did the work to get my adult in charge. And she was like, ooh, that one. I want that one. I like that one. That one's right for me. And she chose correctly. Now, I know I said there's 5 ways to sharpen your ability to choose your own path. And I've covered 3 of them so far. And because I've been traveling all day and got the keys like literally 5 minutes ago to my hotel room, I don't have 2 other ones to tell you. So we're going to stop at 3 today because it's just been a day. And I'm going to recap. So today we're talking about ways to sharpen your ability to choose your own path, to make your own decisions. And the first thing you do is slow down. When you have a big decision to make, slow down. Give yourself some space to hear your own thoughts, because when emotions get heightened, that's when we often get pushed into things by subconscious forces that take over because everything is heightened. Number 2, after you slow down and start listening to yourself, the next step is get clear on who's talking in your head. Is your adult in charge? Is your teenager cropping up? Is it your child that's trying to get safety? Is it, your resistance, your adventurer? Who is speaking to you right now in your head when you're trying to make this decision and you make a choice that's uniquely yours and true to you? Who is it that's speaking in here? Get clear on who the different voices are and where they're coming from. Are they fear-based? Are they excitement-based? Are they driven? Are you being driven by drivenness? Yeah. Sometimes, like this one happens to me a lot. My driver, I have a hefty inner driver. And when my driver gets in charge, I am not making decisions that take into consideration my own self-care and well-being, because my driver just wants to drive, wants to do, wants to achieve, wants to get shit done. And that driver is very informed by our culture. For example, those of us in the West, and in particular in the United States, there's a strong culture here that privileges production, achievement, goal setting, getting to the next level, all that driven shit. This culture privileges that over connection, over rest, over self-care, over balance, over love, really. So when that driver gets in charge, like, I don't always make decisions that are the best for me. So this is the kind of nuance I'm talking about. And this is long for the recap, so I'm going to recap again at the end. Then the third piece is decide who you want to have in charge and put them in charge. So connect with your adult woman or man or they, them person. Connect with your adult. Deliberately, you could even visualize putting them in the driver's seat of the car, holding the wheel, and all the other voices in your head yammering, you can put them in other seats in the car. You don't throw them out the car because they're all part of you, but they don't need to have the wheel. Let me know in the comments if this metaphor makes sense to you, because I use it a lot. And then make a decision. Step 4, because now I can think of a step 4. Step 4 is actually choose something. Just choose something. And then start doing that. And if it doesn't feel aligned, if you need to change it, then change it. But keep in mind that there's no way for you to work out every single variable, every single thing on this side of a decision. Sometimes you have to just make a decision, do a thing, and that thing shows you the next thing. You can't work it all out in advance. So that's part of choosing your own path, is being willing to try stuff and iterate and change. If what you try isn't working and you know it's not working, not because the results are delayed and you need to stick with it and stay consistent, and that's why it hasn't worked yet, but you know for sure that something has to be iterated and changed, then you iterate and change. And I would say the last piece of sharpening your ability to choose your own path is really working on your need for validation and affirmation from others. Because if you're being driven by validation and affirmation needs, then you're never going to make an independent decision, because you're always going to be choosing things based on what you think other people will find acceptable. So it's going to hamper your ability to truly choose your own path. All right, now I'm going to recap for real. Today we're talking about sharpening your ability to choose your own path. And the first, when you're faced with a big decision, is to slow down. Give yourself space to hear your thoughts. The second piece is to get really clear on who's talking in here and who's running the show. For example, this can be like your wounded child, your rebellious teenager, your driven taskmaster, your fear, your adult. I suggest putting your adult in charge. And that's going to be step 3, is to decide who you want in charge and put them in charge. Even if that means visualizing a car and actually literally placing that part of you in the driver's seat and telling everybody else to get in the back. And the fourth piece is to start doing something. So you can't work out choosing your own path in advance of action. Action shows you your path, because it's the action that gets, the action creates a reaction, creates a response. And through that, you feel, oh, yes, this feels aligned. Does not feel aligned. And then you can shift if you need to shift. But you can't work all that out in the abstract. You have to do it through taking action. So step 4 is going to be take an action and then evaluate. Does it feel like the right course or not? And if it's not, course correct. And number 5, really work on your need for validation and affirmation from other people. Because as long as you're being driven by that, you're going to temper your decisions through the lens of them needing to be acceptable to the people you care about. And so it's going to be very hard to choose your own path if you're trying to please others with your choices. So this has been 5 ways to sharpen your ability to choose your own path. I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and I'm a relationship alchemist. I help people get more out of their relationships that they want, more connection, more love, more joy. And I suggest you take my relationship alchemy assessment. I'm going to drop the links in the comments. I have one for singles, one for partnered people. And in 4 or 5 minutes, you'll get clear really fast on what's working well in terms of how you relate to yourself and to others, and where you need to put your attention to work on it. So that's my recommendation for you today. Take that assessment. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching the replay, drop it in the chat. And I will catch your comments once I'm off, because I've had to rejigger how I do this and I can't see right now anything. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next week, remember, a great relationship starts with you.